business is not where you want to be, you need to take massive action. And if that doesn't work, try something else. If that doesn't work, try something else.
Don't worry about planning to 100%. Instead, find the 2% difference. What can you do right now to get 2% of the way? Rise and shine, it's espresso time. So let's start your day off right together. Over to you, Tony Robbins.
I wake up every morning.
Espresso keep me going.
I wake up every morning. If you find your passion, you're gonna have this tremendous energy. It's sustainable energy. But momentum requires you always do the next thing to keep the momentum going. And the reason you get yourself in a passionate place is so that you change your life, and the only thing that changes your life is making a decision. So while you're in this passionate state, that's where you make decisions. You don't make decisions when you're like, oh, I don't know, what do you think? All right, let's decide. If you make a decision in a state without momentum, if you make a decision from a place where there's no passion, you are not gonna get momentum. It'll kill momentum. It's decide, commit, and resolve. Some of you, in the past, you've gotten momentum, you've gotten passionate, you've even made a decision, but a decision is the first step. Decision is like a war. I gotta do this or that. All right, I'm gonna make myself do this. But commitment is when you now, after you've decided, you commit to do this for the long term. Whether it's hard or easy, doesn't matter. You're doing this. It takes it from this moment and it carries it into the future even when things are difficult. And the third state is resolve. Resolve means it's done. It's like, it doesn't even if you took action, it's done inside you, so it's done out there. There's no question whatsoever. Then once you decide, the only way the commitment and the energy and the momentum continues is if you take immediate, massive what, my friends? Massive what? Write down in your notes, massive action is the cure-all. Massive action is the cure-all. If you're having a difficult time with something, your relationship isn't where you want it to be, your finances are not where you want to be, your body's not where you want to be, your business is not where you want to be, you need to take massive action. And if that doesn't work, try something else. If that doesn't work, try something else. Keep going with massive action and you will find the way because it will give you momentum.
The first thing most people do after they make a decision is they plan, they strategize, they tinker, they think, and it's the worst thing you can do. Here's why. You make a bold decision. You say, I'm gonna change my life. I'm gonna go off and do this crazy, amazing thing. And then you go home and you think of all the ways that it can happen and you start planning and strategizing. It's amazing, you feel great. And then you wake up tomorrow and you're a different person. You wake up tomorrow a different person and that person says, you can't do that. You can't follow through on that. Who are you to take on that big idea? And then nothing happens. Nothing happens. And so the solution after you get immediate idea is action. Don't worry about planning. Even imperfect action, just action. Because you need to build it into your nervous system that you're the kind of person who follows through. Because you need to make some commitment so that by the time you wake up tomorrow, you've committed to following through. That's the biggest problem. I call it the 2% difference. So what most people will do is they'll plan to 100%. You get an idea, you gotta plan. You gotta go home, you gotta plan. You gotta plan all the way to the end. And it's amazing, and you think about it, it's such a great place to live in as entrepreneurs, as perfectionists, as over-planners. We love living in that world. Don't worry about planning to 100%. Instead, find the 2% difference. What can you do right now to get 2% of the way? If you don't get 2% of the way immediately through action, you will never get to 100% of the way. So an example, I'm sitting here, standing here, walking here on the streets of San Francisco. I'm in the middle of my 90-day tour across 23 cities. This thing started because I committed to my wife that I was gonna take her to every city in North America with 1 million plus people. It was a warm summer day and I said, Nina, we're gonna go to every city in North America with 1 million plus people. It was a Wednesday afternoon. So what was the first step? It's not going home and planning to see how many cities are there. I didn't even know how many cities are there. No idea. It's not planning about how is Nina gonna leave her job because she had a full-time job. It's not planning about how long it's gonna take. None of that. Don't go home and start researching that. It's the wrong first step. The first step is, what's the one city that I can hit immediately? It's Wednesday afternoon. What's one city I can go to this weekend to start building immediate momentum, the 2% difference? And so I said Boston. I thought Boston was the closest city to us that we hadn't both been to. And so I said, Nina, this weekend we go to Boston. It's Wednesday. On Friday, after your work, I'm gonna pick you up and we're gonna go to Boston. And then I brought Danny and his business partner at the time, my camera guys, to help us film it. That was the start, immediate action. So here's what happens when you do that. When you go up to the 2% difference, you go idea to action, idea to action, idea to action. You start training it, you start burning into your nervous system, you start building momentum, and then, this is the magic thing, your head starts working with your heart. Your head, instead of talking you down from doing the crazy thing, starts thinking, holy crap, we committed to this, now I have to figure out a way to do it. Now I'm going to Boston. Now I got to figure out what am I going to do in Boston? Who am I going to connect with in Boston? Where are we going to stay in Boston? How are we going to get to Boston? What's our itinerary going to look like in Boston, right? Your head now starts working with you alongside your crazy vision instead of the other way around. Because often you make a decision feeling bold, amazing, unstoppable, and then your head talks you down from it. So I believe that the decisions that you make when you're feeling bold are actually the right ones for you. The decisions that you make when you're feeling bold, unstoppable, crazy, confident, you decide you're gonna do something, those are actually the right ones for you, and then your head gets to work and telling you why you can't do it. 99% of the rest of your life is your head telling you that you can't do it, that you're not good enough, that you're not strong enough, that you're not capable enough, that you don't have the skills, beliefs, mindset, the resources to be able to do it, right? That's the problem. So you make a decision, and then the immediate thing you have to do is do the 2% difference. Take immediate action on that thing. Don't go home and plan. Don't plan to 100%. The 2% difference, immediate action, train yourself. Idea, action, idea, action, idea, action. Don't judge the idea. Don't think it's crazy or too big or you have to go research it. Don't. Just act on it right now.
Now I've got a really special bonus clip that I think you're gonna enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I wanna know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? The science says that when you just watch a video, you get motivated, you get inspired, you have a 35% chance of following through on your goals. 35%, that's not enough. That's not enough just to get motivated. Believe Nation, we're here, you're here. Today matters, you're an action taker. When you commit to a plan of action, of when and how you're gonna follow through. When you write it down, you have a 91% chance of following through. And when you commit publicly to somebody else, it jumps to 95% chance. From 30-something% to 95% chance of you following through. Believe Nation, we need to make this happen. So question of the day, your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action specific for the next week. Put it down in the comments below, and I'm gonna show on screen sometime next week to celebrate you. Also, if you want to have more self-love, self-confidence, self-belief, I've designed a special free training to help you get it. The science says it can take up to 254 days of consecutive action to develop a new habit. And I want that for you. I want you to develop the habit of self-belief, self-confidence, self-love. So for the next 254 days, I'm going to send you a link by email to an unlisted video to get on for free. It's in the description below. Go check it out.
If you want to change your life, my friends, you got to change your physiology and you got to change your focus.
My very first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I want to get my head right. I do this thing called priming.
Today, what creates marketing is when you don't just market, but you add value to people. If you're going to get a new result, if you're going to grow your business, if you're going to be able to support your mom, if you're going to get rid of the anxiety, if you're going to be able to overachieve and not have all that fear inside of you, you obviously need to get a new result. You're going to have to get new action. We all know that. You don't get new results with old actions doing the same thing.
Exactly.
What human beings can do, this is a human being, believe it or not, I majored in art. What human beings can do is amazing. What they will do is usually disappointing. It's not because we're not capable of it. It's because we don't have new actions because we get in certain emotional states that dominate us, like anxiety, like fear of failure, right? Like the fear of the loss of your mother as an example. So if you're in a state of fear, you're going to behave very differently and get very different results. That's what that means right there. Than if you were in a place of being courageous or bold or warm or connected or playful, any of those. So the most important key to changing your life in any situation is to change results, you got to change behavior. But to change behavior, you got to change the emotional state you're in. Now, how do you do that when you don't feel like it, right? Or it feels overwhelming? There are two ways, and I've done this with the greatest athletes in the world. I've done this with 4 different presidents of the United States. I've done it with billionaire clients. all you have to do to change your state is not try to think your way there, like I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, and do a bunch of affirmations. Your brain's gonna go, BS, you are not happy, right? What you need to do is make a radical change in the way you use what we call your physiology. It's a big word, it just means the way you use your physical body. The way I'm speaking right now, because I got 5 minutes also, is sped up just a little bit. But if I said to you, there's a depressed person behind curtain number 1 over there, and I'll donate $100,000 to your best charity, your favorite charity, if you could describe what they're like physically. Tell me what's their posture like if they're depressed. You tell me.
Slumped over.
Slump. Where's their head? Where's their head?
Down.
Down. Are they breathing full or shallow?
Shallow.
And are they talking really fast or more slow?
Slow.
Loud or quiet?
Probably quiet.
You're all saying the same thing. How's that possible? Because you've all practiced this crap before, haven't you? But here's what you can find. If you take that same person and you change the tempo at which they move, you bring their shoulders back and change their breathing pattern, if they make a faster gesture, if they speak more rapidly, it fires off a different biochemistry in you. And in that state, you will take radically different actions. In fact, I've taught this for 40 years, and about 3 years ago, Harvard finally did a study where they proved what I did worked, and they called it these power positions. And what they showed was if you stand, everyone can try this, stand up just for a moment if you want, everybody at home can try it as well. So do something really silly. Put both your hands on your hips like Wonder Woman or Superman or that stuff, right? If you stand like this and you breathe deep for just 2 minutes, what the science found was that you will absolutely increase your testosterone by 20%, man or woman. You'll drop your cortisol, which as you know is the stress hormone, by 22%, and you're 33% more likely to take action if you wouldn't have before because fear would have stopped you. Now, I don't have people just stand like this. I have people move, use their voice, make radical changes in their bodies. You can have a seat just to get a feel. I know we're short on time, but you can try it later and you'll feel it after 2 minutes. Or, somebody who's, puts their arms back like this and their feet up, that'll produce the same state. It produces more certainty in you. And that certainty gets you to take different actions. So if you are in a situation, you think of the worst scenario, your mom dying, my business goes under, I never achieve at the level I need to, all the things I have anxiety about, the minute you focus on them, you go into those states of fear, and then you behave fearful, and you get lousy results. And when you get lousy results, what does it do to your brain? You go, see, I told you I couldn't do this. It becomes this negative loop. So how do we break out of it? We change our focus by asking better questions. Everybody in this room can try this. Just right now, answer this question in your mind. What is it in your life that you're proud of? If there's something you could feel really proud of right now by focusing on it, your children, yourself, something you accomplished, you did, how many can think of something you could feel proud of? And I don't mean fake pride, ego pride, like where you're making things up. I mean, well, you really did something you're proud of. Yeah. Good. Right now, close your eyes and focus on how it feels when you're really proud. Focus on that moment you're proud of. How do you breathe when you feel really proud? And if you're a little kid, what happens to your face when you're really proud? You don't hide it, right? There's that big smile on your face. Raise your hand if you can feel these feelings right now. Everyone here, just say aye if you got it.
Aye.
Awesome. Try one more real fast. Think of something that you could be really grateful for or excited. Pick either one. Something you could be grateful for, a person, a moment, or something if you wanted to that you could be excited about. Let's use excited for a moment. Okay. How many can think of something in your life that if you focused on it, you could feel excited? All right? Close your eyes, and just for a moment, all we're doing is changing your focus. Focus on what could excite you. Feel like it's really happening. Your mom's healing, you break through in the business, you're achieving the level you want. Anxiety is rid from my life. I'm on charge, I'm on top of it. How do you breathe when you feel really excited? And then try this, when you're a little kid, you probably made noises for the hell of it until people told you not to. Make a noise of excitement, a sound of excitement. Go ahead in your bodies, all of you. Do it again. One more. Open your eyes. How many feel that feeling in your body right now?
Yeah.
So if we change the state you're in, just by changing our focus or the way we use our bodies, strongly. Now, if you say, I'm gonna change my body, like I have people do firewalks sometimes or skydiving, and you go, they're scared, and they go, Mr. Robbins said that I should change my physiology, okay? Oh shoot, it didn't work. It's gotta be a radical change, right? Here's my question for all of you. If you focus on what you want, life has probabilities, there's no guarantees, but you increase them when you change your state. And that's really what this is all about. Learning to change your body and learning to change your focus. Treat people at the end of the relationship like it's the beginning and there won't be an end. And that's not just your intimate relationship. What if your customers, what if you fell in love with your customers, with your clients, more than your product, more than your company? If your entire life is about meeting their needs, if you would do what for your customers and clients, you would do what? If you love your customers and clients, you do anything, guess what? They're gonna love you. But most people love their customers and clients as long as they buy from them, do what they want, respond to them. And when they don't, they go, that's the end. You want clients for life, not just customers? Fall in love with them. It's a different focus, isn't it? It's a different meaning. And that creates a different life because you make decisions differently from that place. What does it take to create world-class marketing? What is the unique selling proposition? What is what we call value-added marketing, VAM? Today, most people are sick and tired of advertising because where is it? Everywhere. In fact, I got a question for you. How many of you in this room do not even see banner ads anymore? Literally, it's there, but you don't perceive it. Like your brain literally washes it out. Raise your hand if that's true. Keep your hands nice and high and look around the room right now and you'll see 98% of the people wash it out. So don't buy them unless you're gonna create something really unique. It's a total waste of your money and your time in the world we're in today. Today, what creates marketing is when you don't just market, but you add value to people. You do something, you teach them, you give them an insight, you give something valuable that costs them nothing, and then they look to you as an expert. They look to you as a person that adds value. They want you to supply them more information, more experience, more products, more services. If you made this whole business about meeting your needs, you can run a successful business, but it'll be a job because you'll never be able to sell it. Because if it's just meeting your needs, it's not a system. It demands your attention, your connection. It's giving what you want. But ultimately, it's not going to give somebody else what they want, so you can't sell it. If you can't sell your business, if you don't have an exit strategy, you have a job. I don't care how successful the business is. That doesn't mean you have to sell the business. But one of the most important decisions you make in business is, ultimately, if I was going to sell this, if I chose to, I have to know who would I sell this to so that I have long-term value, not just an income along the way. I have this critical mass hit. I get a multiple of my business. And most people don't have a clear exit strategy. They think I'll come up with that someday. You got to start with that end in mind. That's got to be part of your focus if you're going to be successful in your business. I can remember a gentleman who built CAA in Hollywood. It was the largest, most successful agency, right? Michael Ovitz, remember that name? He put together Nike and Coca-Cola and these billion-dollar deals. And eventually, Mike Ovitz went to go sell that business. He'd never thought through an exit strategy, and he got almost nothing for it. Because the laws prevented him from selling it to a studio. He had to sell it to some of his employees for pennies on its real value. Now, Mike found a way to make money later on in another place off of Disney. But the bottom line is, the guy didn't have an exit strategy. Even though it was brilliant, made lots of money, in the end, didn't get the value. Leverage is critical. You know how I get so much done? Because I don't just get it done. I know the outcome, I know the purpose, and I look for leverage. Leverage is different than delegation. What's the problem with delegation? Delegation is you have all that needs to be done, so you give it to someone else, and you tell them what needs to be done, and when they don't do it, you're pissed off. Leverage says, I can move the biggest boulder in the world with a little bit of effort if I got something I can do it with, but I'm still part of it. So leverage is, if I'm going to leverage something here with Tom, I'm going to make sure Tom understands the what? The outcome. I want to make sure Tom understands the purpose, the why, and the action. But I might say to Tom, if you can get this done without this action or better action, go for it, baby. And I want to talk to you on this date, and we got a promise, and we're going to check in before it's needed. So there's no surprises. And if you're having problems, Tom, come back to me because we're partners on this. That I call leverage. And you know what I do when I have no time? There is time. I just got to leverage it. Now, you say, I have no one to leverage it to. You know, Shane over here, right? I got all the stuff he wants to do, he can't leverage it. But Shane's answer was, hire somebody, then he thinks about what it's going to take and goes, $125,000, I can't do that now. He's getting caught up in one way to get the outcome. Leverage. He goes through his list and goes, what if I got someone to do 20% of this stuff? I could spend 20 grand to get that much freedom. I could pay for it times 10. And if I'm really productive, my productivity should enhance the world, not only my clients and customers, but it should provide jobs for other people. And if there's anything you hate to do, it's because you're either ineffective at it or you don't think it's very important, but it is urgent. So you need to hire somebody for those things. And ideally, somebody who loves that job. You're never going to grow when your time is eaten up for activities that aren't that important. Activity without high levels of purpose is the drain of your fortune. Do it now. If you can't get it all now, do a part of it now. Leverage is power. Leverage is ultimate power. People ask, what does it take to succeed? The one answer I give them is hunger. That hunger is the greatest asset that you'll see in everybody from Richard Branson to Google or an Apple or Facebook, these giant companies. You got to become a master of your ability to turn on your determination or your creativity or your hunger or your passion or whatever it is it's going to take for you to get from where you are to where you really want to be. Intelligence is so valuable, but there are so many smart people that can't fight their way out of a paper bag. Hunger is that part of you that says, I will not stop. I will not get up. I will not settle for less than I can be or do or share or give. So you really have to decide. The most important decision is, do I want to be happy? Will I commit to being happy? More important than happy. Sometimes you'll be so happy you smile so much your face hurts, right? You need variety. Am I committed to living in a beautiful state even when it doesn't go my way? Even when it rains on my parade? Even when my biggest fear shows up? Because I can't control whether your husband or wife will live or die or get sick or leave you or get a divorce. I don't want any of that to happen to any human being. I hate suffering. I do anything I can to help people not suffer. But I can't control that. You can. There are people who have lost their arms, lost their sight. There have been people that have been through the most horrific experiences in life, and they found a way to still be happy because they've made the decision that life is too short to suffer. I've interviewed dozens and hundreds over the years, but dozens that have impacted my soul, that made me realize I can change this. I've just gotten used to it. I've bought into the theory that this survival software that's constantly running and making you suffer, that's normal. No, that's what the mind will do. And mind has been around forever. What I'm going to do is something different. And the way I get out of suffering, I give myself a 90-second rule. It's really simple. I say, look, if I feel myself starting to feel that stress, feeling that pissed offness or upsetness or concern or worry about my kid, whatever, I realize that's not going to make it better. Life's too short to suffer. And then I just kind of breathe slowly, slow everything down, and I just watch the thought go by and go, look at that crazy thought. Because everybody's had crazy thoughts. Everybody's had a thought, I'm going to kill that son of a bitch, right? And then you don't kill them because you don't believe that thought. It's the thoughts that are stressful that you believe that mess you up. When you question them, you break the pattern. The more I've done it's like a muscle. The more I've trained myself to do it, I can authentically tell you now, it takes a lot for something to take more than 90 seconds for me now. And the level of joy surpasses all the money you could ever have in a million years. And then the money, it's easier to even make money because you're not attached. You don't have the fears. You don't have the scarcity that people have because you feel so rich already right now. I always tell people, don't wait to be rich. What is that richness? It's abundance, it's joy, it's happiness, it's contribution. It's getting out of yourself. Because as long as we're thinking about, oh my God, I lost something, or you did something, now I have less love, less respect, less money. If I think lost less, or because you did something, or because I did something, I'm never gonna have what I want in my life, lost less, never. Those three thought patterns, they're the source of all suffering. And the antidote, see it for what it really is, know it's BS, and find something to appreciate. There is another level. The only reason you keep saying there isn't is you feel so exhausted about where you are. But life, the universe, or God is just testing you because there is another level. If this is good, giant jump to excellence, giant jump good, poor to good to excellence. There's a level where all your dreams are realized. There's a level that you've always dreamed about. It is real. It has not gone away. But it takes that extra burst when you think there's nothing left, there's no way, you've tried everything 10 million times and you keep going. It's almost like God is saying, if you keep hitting this wall enough times, I will see that you will not stop, that you are filled with that level of determination, faith, and courage, and then the door opens and you get to that next level. But what most people don't know is the next level is just 2 millimeters above. And it's called outstanding, ladies and gentlemen, outstanding. What's it called? What's it called? What's it called? Outstanding, magnificent, unstoppable, extraordinary, not excellent. It's a different level. It's a level where you are not one of the best, you are the best. And you know what's amazing? You only have to be 2 millimeters more than everybody else and you get everything. You get the joy, the laughter, the fun, the family, the passion, the economics, the freedom, the spirit. It's all there. What Jerry Maguire called the Quan, baby. All of it. and it's just 2 millimeters above, and most excellent people give up because they're exhausted. And there's some people who go, the harder I hit it, the more I hit it, sooner or later it's going down, I'm not stopping. And when you do that enough, it pops open. Failure is part of life. I mean, the difference for me though is I look at failure as a stepping stone to success. It's a speed bump. I know I'm gonna fail, but it's not failure if you learn something. And so, gosh, I've made so many mistakes, I've screwed so many things up, but every time I do, it becomes a way for me to explain to someone else what it takes. You know, it's like, here's what I've done. I think I have the ability to influence people because I talk about my failures. I talk about all the things that mess me up, but I show people that I didn't let it stop me, and you don't let it stop you. And I think that's really the secret in that area.
And if everything you touch was successful, you probably wouldn't be able to relate to people as much.
No, you'll be relate, and also it's be total, and everyone knows. And also you'd be bored silly. Right. I mean, think about it. If you just said, I want this and happen, I want this and it happen, you know, people don't value what they don't fight for. You know, it's like you see kids sometimes in it, you know, your parents will say, you're not going to value this if you don't work for it. And your kid going, I'll value it, just give it to me, right? But it's true. Yeah. You know, the things we've worked the hardest for, we value the most. Yeah. So I think, you know, the purpose of a goal is not getting it anyway. The purpose of the goal, you know, is who you become. Who you become is going to make you happy or it's going to make you sad. Yeah. So I'm not looking for an effortless approach. Sure. There's no such thing.
So Tony, one of the critics actually that I once met said, yeah, Tony's techniques, they were great for about 1.5 years and then they wore off. What do you say to that, folks?
It's real simple. If you don't work out, you don't get a muscle, right? So I always tell people there's a daily practice like priming. If you don't do that, if you get up and you just have no discipline whatsoever, you get no value of anything. Your diets don't work when you don't do them. Exercise doesn't work when you don't do them. But most of the people have some experiences that they want to shift. And once you shift those things, your whole life changes. But life is constant growth. My life isn't here because I went to one seminar one time and now my life is fit for life. I work out, I train my mind, I train my body, and it becomes a lifestyle. It's not just like you're depending upon somebody else. I'm not here to become somebody's guru. I'm not here to give them a gift. I'm here for them to open up their own gifts. And that's really what my work has been. The only way to deal with fear that I found in my life is a couple ways. One of those ways is to turn it on itself and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? If I'm afraid of that, I got to be more afraid of what I'm going to miss out on my mission, missing out on who I'm supposed to be. In other words, if you're not going to get rid of fear, then use fear. Use fear or it uses you. It's that simple. So you got to say, okay, what's the price if I just stay doing this? What's the price? What I need to really get scared if I learn all this and I don't follow through. That's something to be scared about. And then that fear will get you over your fear. It'll push you through. Turn fear on itself. Second way you can do it is use what you've probably heard me say, because I've used it since I was 17, is my little rocking chair test, right? I'm gonna sit myself in my rocking chair, and I'm 85 years old, I'm looking back on my life, and I say, I didn't do this, or I did. If you find your passion, you're gonna have this tremendous energy. It's sustainable energy. But momentum requires you always do the next thing to keep the momentum going. And the reason you get yourself in a passionate place is so that you change your life, and the only thing that changes your life is making a decision. So while you're in this passionate state, that's where you make decisions. You don't make decisions when you're like, oh, I don't know, what do you think? All right, let's decide. If you make a decision in a state without momentum, if you make a decision from a place where there's no passion, you are not going to get momentum. It'll kill momentum. It's decide, commit, and resolve. Some of you, in the past, you've gotten momentum, you've gotten passionate, you've even made a decision, but a decision is the first step. Decision is like a war. I got to do this or that. All right, I'm going to make myself do this. But commitment is when you now, after you've decided, you commit to do this for the long term. Whether it's hard or easy, doesn't matter. You're doing this. It takes it from this moment and it carries it into the future even when things are difficult. And the third state is resolve. Resolve means it's done. It's like, it doesn't even if you took action, it's done inside you, so it's done out there. There's no question whatsoever. Then once you decide, the only way the commitment and the energy and the momentum continues is if you take immediate, massive what, my friends? Massive what? Write down in your notes, massive action is the cure-all. Massive action is the cure-all. If you're having a difficult time with something, your relationship isn't where you want it to be, your finances are not where you want to be, your body's not where you want to be, your business is not where you want to be, you need to take massive action. And if that doesn't work, try something else. If that doesn't work, try something else. Keep going with massive action and you will find the way because it will give you momentum. You'll never earn your way to financial fortune. Even people that make just loads of money, the actors, the actresses, the athletes, where are they 10 and 15 years later? I mean, 50 Cent made $100 million on vitamin water. He got a tip, and he got like a $200 or $300 million net worth, and he's bankrupt. He bought Mike Tyson's house, 25,000 square feet, and Mike Tyson made $500 million and went bankrupt. Right now, I don't know if you saw Johnny Depp, I don't know if it's gonna happen or not, but the papers are saying he may go bankrupt. He made $750 million as a movie star, but he spent $30,000 a month on wine. He must be feeling good. And secondly, he took Hunter Thompson, the reporter, he burned his body and paid $3 million to blow his ashes into the sky in a cannon. So no matter how much money you make, you can screw it up, right? But if you will just decide there's a percentage of my income that no matter what, I'm gonna have it automated. I'm not gonna see it, it's gonna go straight to an investment account. And I don't know if it's 10 or 15 or 20, those numbers sound gigantic to most people. Even if you start with 5 and build, that income does not go to anybody else, and then you put that into compounding. So listen to this. There's a young man, true story, Theodore Johnson, 1950s, worked for UPS, never made more than $14,000 in annual income in his entire life, retired with $70 million, and he didn't inherit a dime. He gave away $35 million while he's alive. Now, how is that possible? Because of compound interest. When I interview all these investors and say, what's the biggest mistake Americans make? He said, they all said, they don't tap into compound interest. They know intellectually a little bit what it means, but they don't do it. They don't do it consistently. So what do you do?
It basically just means that the profits you make go back into the investment.
You keep reinvesting and it keeps growing, but it grows geometrically, right? And so a friend of his came to this man who worked for UPS and said, I'm gonna make you rich. We're gonna put a 20% tax on you. He said, I can't give up 20%. I can't pay my bills if I do that. He said, listen, if the government raised your taxes 20% and you'd claim, you'd scream, you'd cry, you'd complain, and you'd pay it. And you get adjusted to it. But he said, this is not going to the government. This is going into an account for your future. And that compounding is what made him that much money. In the book, I give you an example of an 18-year-old boy whose father convinces him that he should save $300 a month out of his income, which is not a huge income. It sounds like a lot. But when you automate it, you forget about it. It's perfect. You adjust. Well, he does this from 18 years old to 27 for 8 years. So the total amount of money, $300 a month, about $4,000 a year, that's $28,000 total. He then he leaves it in the market and never adds a dime to it from 28 years old on. At 65, because the market over those 30 years grew 10%, his money has compounded so much that he has $1.8 million. You don't need a lot of money to be wealthy, you need time.
So you're saying that even if I have student debt that I'm struggling to pay off, even if I'm making, say, $1,000 a week, that I should still try to put a percentage or make it a point to put a percentage, not just into a savings account, but into an investment account.
Into an investment account. Where to put that money, then we teach you the ways to do that, and it's got to be diversified.
Yeah.
You never put all your money in the market.
I want it, okay, great.
So what do you think was the first real breakthrough that you had as a teen that started you on your path, and how did you get there?
Gosh, there's so many. One of the first ones I think was probably just anchoring in when my mom and my dad, I had 4 different fathers. My mom was a powerful woman, so she kicked my 4th father out, whose name I carry, and he adopted me. And when he went out, she decided it wasn't his side, so she kicked me out too by chasing me out with a knife. And I wasn't worried she was going to stab me or anything, but I decided this is freedom, and I've got to find a way to make my life work. But I had no money. I had a 1960 Volkswagen. I worked $40 a week as a janitor to buy and pay for. And so I had no car, I had no money, I had no anything. I went and slept in a person's laundry room, and then I decided I've got to figure out what to do, and I needed to feed my mind because I was so depressed, I was so overwhelmed, I'm missing my brother and sister and feeling just completely out of sorts. So I got on a bus and I traveled 14 miles, I remember, because I ended up running it one time. And I went to this bookstore and I bought this book called The Magic of Believing by Claudia Bristol. It's the first real book other than maybe Think and Grow Rich or Emerson's essays. And I started on this journey of saying every single day I'm going to feed my mind. I'm not going to hope good thoughts show up. I'm going to read biographies. I'm going to find out what makes people tick. I'm going to understand what makes me tick. And I wanted to read a book a day, but I didn't do that. I took a speed reading class and I read 700 books over 7 years. And they were all personal development, human development, psychology, physiology. And then what I try to do is take anything that I learned and apply it. And then when I applied it, I was 5'1" in my sophomore year in high school. I'm 6'7" now. I tell people the difference is personal growth. Really. But sincerely, I became Mr. Solution because I wanted to help everybody. So I was this little fat guy, and I couldn't lose weight, and I lost weight. And all my buddies are like, how'd you do that? And I said, well, here's what I did. And they lost weight, and then we all got girls. And that led to, as a young kid, that led to where, if you had a problem, I was Mr. Solution. Especially if you're a girl, I was more motivated to help you. So the breakthrough was really understanding the power of compressing decades into days. That if someone has spent decades of their life and they compress it into a book, and you can read it in an hour or a few days, you have such an advantage. Because when you learn by your own experience, it's painful and it's slow. When you learn by other people's experience, everybody knows in the financial world, other people's money is leverage, right? Well, other people's experience is more powerful than other people's money. Because you can have the money and lose it. But if you get the experience, you can change it all. So I think that was the beginning for me. And it set me on a lifelong path of hunger. I've never lost my hunger.
The minimum I do is I want to know more about my clients than they know about themselves. I know a man that from Australia decided, he was a dentist, and he decided he was tired of people not showing up. He was tired of trying to bill and not getting paid, properly from various insurance. He was tired of all these things, and one day he just decided to sit down with every one of his patients one-on-one, and he said, I'm changing my practice. I'm going to do a practice where I'm going to take a lot less clients and let go of probably half the clients I have right now. I only want to do business with people who I personally like, who when they come in, I want to sit down, have a cup of tea with them, understand what's going on in their life, what their goals are, and I want to make sure that everything in my psyche is taking care of them and helping them augment the way they look, the way they feel, and their vitality and the health of their system. And he sat down and said, so to do that, I want you to know I have some simple things. I'm promising I'll give you the best dental care of your entire life. I'm promising that if you come in your appointment, you will not be delayed more than maximum of 5 minutes ever. And he laid out all these things. I'll give you the best care, this, the most attention. He goes, but this is what I'm going to require for patients that work with me. I'll refer them out to someone else if this is uncomfortable. He said, I require that if they cancel, they're going to have to pay for it. I require they show up on time because I'm going to respect them, they respect me. I'm going to also require that in the next 6 months, that if I do the quality work I promised, they'll give me 2 referrals from 2 other quality people that I'd probably want to take care of as well. And he said, I'm shutting down any other form of my business, and I'm going to spend more quality time with you, and I want the referrals because I don't want to spend time marketing and selling. I want to spend time putting my attention and making your life better. He quadrupled his income and cut the time he spent doing dental work by more than 60%.
I believe that.
Just because he became an owner who owned his business instead of running around trying to please everybody and being frustrated that people are canceling and so forth.
Right.
And most of us just don't own ourselves enough.
When something is considered quote unquote impossible, how do you reframe it so it becomes possible in your mind? And how much of that is mindset?
Well, I think impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. When someone tells me it's impossible, I always just look at them. Anybody around me knows that they can't do that. So that's part of it. But if they didn't know me, it's your opinion. And they'll say, no, science shows. And I say, yeah, and how many times has science showed something's impossible? Now science shows it's possible. Things are impossible until somebody does it. And so I find that, most of your business people, you look at businesses and what does it take to make a business grow? It's not impossible to make a business grow. A business has been shrinking for a long time, or it's been stuck. The real problem is always, the chokehold is always the psychology and the skills of the leader. Always. And 80% of that is psychology and 20% is the mechanics. Like if you don't know how to read your financials and you're trying to fly the plane of your company, I mean, come on. If all you do is go down, you look at profit and loss and you see what it is and you have a beer, either way, you either celebrate or you get depressed, something, you're going to be in trouble, right? But if you have the skill sets, that's one thing. But you can get any skill set if you have the psychology. And anytime a business is not growing, it is not because it's impossible. It's because they aren't innovating, and they're not innovating because they're believing it's impossible. I mean, if we all know what does it take to transform, I always tell people it takes 3 things to create a breakthrough in anything, in your personal life, in your business, anywhere. You need a strategy. But that's not the first place you should look, and it's the first place all of us look. Me too. It's our inherent thing. You want to lose weight? Well, how do I do it? I want to grow my business? How do I do it?
It's instinctive. We've been trained to think that way. But the problem is the how-to is usually not that complex. I mean, come on. 70% of America is 75% of America now is overweight. Is that because it's so complex how to be fit and strong, right? You know, only the 1% know the answers. They hide it from you. You have to work your ass off to not hear what it takes, right? And so you know, I remember I went to a TED Med Center, and I watched about 12 doctors, one after another, get up and do these stories about how we could just get patients to take their medications and try to figure out the whole thing. And I was just looking and going, you're all talking about strategy and you've forgotten psychology. Because strategy is wonderful. I'm a strategist. I spent my whole life figuring out strategies. As we both know, a strategy could save you a decade, right? In business, strategy could save you, you know, it could make the difference between success and failure. But most people have strategies available, or they could get them, or you could create them. But the problem is you got a story. And your story is why it isn't working. And the story is, I've tried what? What? Everything. If you tried everything, you'd be fit, right? If you tried everything, you'd be profitable. If you tried everything, you'd be there. But people say it, you know, I'm big bone. That's what I used to say. I'm still big bone, but I'm 38 pounds lighter than I was 25 years ago, and I've never gained it back, right? When I was big bone, that was my story. All the good ones are gone. That's why I'm not in a relationship. Or they're gay and I'm not, or I'm gay and they are, or whatever the story is. There's always a story. And what I tell people is, you know, if you can just divorce the story of your limitation and marry the truth of your unlimited capacity, then the whole game changes. The goal, if you own a business, and I would assume a lot of your viewers are business owners or getting started in business, no matter how good you are in business, think about this. The one universal rule that in finance know is diversification. It's the only free lunch. You got to diversify. Because if you put all your eggs in one basket, no matter how good the basket is, one day that real estate market, that stock market, that bond market, that collectibles market, whatever you invest in, Ray Dalio showed me statistically, it'll drop 50 to 70% on a day. Now, if you're later in life when that happens, it's over for you.
Right.
So you have to diversify, and yet most people, they know real estate, so they do it, or they know stocks, so they do it, or they grew up with their parents flipping things, and it's the wrong thing to do. Mm-hmm. So you've got to diversify in order for you to be able to truly succeed, and that's why when you own a business, if you put all your money in your business, which is what most of us do naturally,
it's a lot of risk.
You put all your eggs in one basket, and there's things that can happen. I mean, you know, let's say you spent 20 years and you figured out how to put together the ultimate map, you know, and you remember Garmin came out with this thing called the TomTom. I don't know if you remember, you used to put on your, are you old enough to remember that? You used to put on your phone? Or you used to put on your dash? Cost $100. It was a breakthrough.
They were making like 100 million or something, or
they were. 6 months later, what happened?
The iPhone came out with Google Maps.
These little excuse my French, came out with it, put Google Maps, put their own map on here, and it costs how much? Zero. What's that going to do to your business when someone takes your product or service and gives it away for free? So I always tell people, competition happens, technology happens. What you must do is have a second business with no moving parts, no people, no time. Maybe it takes you 3 days a year for 2 or 3 hours after you've read the book. You put it in place and you measure it 2 or 3 times a year. That's it. Go on with your life. Now, if there's a trouble in your business, you're financially set. In my life, I have 31 companies now. We have, you know, what do we have? 1,200 employees, 7 different industries. We do $5 billion in sales. I mean, that used to be, you know, me and my seminar business. It's grown geometrically. But with all those moving parts, the only way I've been able to succeed is because I've taken every one of those businesses and I've diversified my assets so that when things were in trouble, I still had enough economics to take care of myself and keep the business going. So everybody needs to create a money machine that works while you sleep, that doesn't have moving parts, and that's what this is really about.
So what are the trade-offs that you would consider, like, you know, we work our off. We do a lot of stuff, but this is what we had to sacrifice in order to do it. If you think of it that way.
I think if you think of it as a sacrifice, then you're going to build frustration or resentment. I really don't. If you think it's a sacrifice, you shouldn't do it. I think the challenge is that most people have this illusion about life-work balance. And I think that's you know, if you're going to accomplish it, it's what people are laughing because you know it's right. What's true is life-work integration. So I was just in 7 countries, 21 days, but who's with me is my family, who's with me is my friends, and I've done well enough to have a plane and bedrooms and all that kind of cool stuff makes it. But when I didn't, we huffed it together. And in the beginning days, it was coach and dragging ourselves around. But I thought it was great for my kids to have schooling, but I thought an education was more valuable, and traveling the earth was a part of that. But we're in the middle of this crazy schedule, but it's not work, it's a mission. When it's work, it's that. I always ask people, I said, how would you describe what you do? And people, I say, is it work, is it career, or is it mission? And most people, of course, say it's work, and that's exactly what it is. It's heavy. If it's your career, it gives you something more. If it's your mission, it doesn't wear you out. It brings energy to you. It's fulfilling. And if you can tie your mission in with the people that you love, it's pretty cool. There's some people in this room, they're my friends. I see Dean here in the front row here, and it's like we're all on this mission, and we find time to connect and be with each other and have a blast with each other, but we're sharing about things that matter. I'm not a person to go to a party and go in the corner and chit chat. It's like, you want to talk about something deep? Let's rock. You don't? let me go home and be with my family. Or, let me go do something fun, some of that nature. If you can combine your mission with your family, combine your mission with some of your friends, then you're going to accomplish 1,000,000 times more. But if you think it's a sacrifice, don't do it, because then all you're doing is you're going to have resentment later on or frustration later on, and then you really aren't contributing because you're trading off. You're not giving. Most people have a belief about what their real potential is no matter what you tell them. And that affects how much action they take. And of course that affects the result. And then ironically, that result reinforces their belief. And then that belief affects it. So I'll give you an example. Let's say a person has unlimited potential, we all agree. But they take little action, little results. Why? Because they have to start with a problem with their belief. They don't believe it's really going to happen for me. Maybe for Frank Kearns because he's got the cool hair and stuff, or maybe it's for you because you're so driven, but it's not me. Maybe Tony Robbins because he's a freak, got these big teeth. Whatever their thought process is, right? They got this thing, right? But what happens is, if you believe that there's very little potential, how much action are you going to take? Nothing, little. And when you take little potential with a little action, what kind of results do you get? Lousy little results. And when you get little results, what does that do to your belief? You go, see, I told you this was a waste of time, told you this wouldn't work. And then what happens? You tap even less potential. You take even less action. You get even worse results, and your belief gets even weaker. And this sucker feeds on itself until you are in a downward spiral.
It's poisonous.
It's poisonous and it's self-fulfilling. Now, what if something could happen that could come along and fill you with a sense of absolute certainty? Not like I believe, but where you know. In you guys' case, mine as well, we knew because we had to. Because we burned the boats. There was no other option. We had to find a way. We weren't going to live that way. We all did it in different ways and for different reasons, but in essence, that was it. If you get yourself in a state of certainty that this is going to work, I'm going to find a way, and if this doesn't work, I will make the way, then you tap a lot more potential. And when you're certain in your potential, you take massive action. When you take massive action, you really believe in something, you get great results. When you get great results, your brain goes, see, I told you I was a stud. I told you this thing would work out. Now you're even stronger. You tap more potential, take greater action, greater results. That's how you went from $300 in a week to $2,500 in 5 days to $100,000 in a month to $1 million in a day. Same thing with you. And we get momentum. That's why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Now some people go out and they go, well, I'm going to take a bunch of action. All right, I'm going to open this product. I'm going to try it. And they'll say to you, I even did it. But it's like a salesman who goes and knocks on the door, and he knocks on 100 doors and says,
you don't want one of these, do you?
Yeah, exactly right. And even if he doesn't say it verbally, his face says it because he doesn't believe it's going to work. So his voice, his body, the execution is so weak. Maybe if he talks to 100 people, somebody's going to buy out of pity. They don't want his kids to starve, right? But he's not going to get the result. So the core difference in people is, how do you produce certainty when the world isn't giving it to you? You go out and you try, and in your case, you're 100,000 in debt, and nothing's working. How do you keep yourself going? The way you did it, the way I did it, the way you're doing it, we may not have done it consciously, is we didn't change our potential. That was there. And it wasn't even taking more action. Taking more action with a belief it's not going to work, it's not going to change anything. We got results in our head that made us feel certain as if it had already happened. There was a day that I became wealthy. I'll tell you the day, I know that day I was rich. I was broke. I was pissed. I was angry at everybody else but who? Myself. But really underneath it, I was mad at myself. I just couldn't beat myself up anymore, so I was pissed. And I had a friend that I loaned money to when I had barely enough, and I knew he needed it, and I gave him $1,200, and I'm here not able to eat. I'm down to like $25, $26, and I'm saying to him, calling him, and he's not returning my call, and I just need some money, and he's ignoring me. I didn't ignore him then, so I'm pissed. I'm frustrated. In the midst of all this, I'm also pragmatic. I got 25 and change, call it $26. What the hell am I gonna do? I don't have any plans for economics. I got overhead that's crazy. I'm living in this little tiny apartment, 400 square feet in Venice, California. So I thought, okay, when I was totally broke early on when I was 17, I used to save my money up and go to the smorgasbord and load up for Christmas, load up for the week. So I said, I was in Venice, I'm gonna go over to Marina del Rey, where all the yachts are, and there's a place there called El Torito, and I'm gonna go, they have an all-you-can-eat smorgasbord, I'm gonna load up for the winter. I'm gonna get there. So I didn't drive there, because I wasn't gonna spend the gas to get there, plus I needed to walk, so I walked there. And I go in, I'm not dressed really great, but it's Marina del Rey, it's okay. And I got a place right by the window and I can see these yachts going by and I'm dreaming of what life could be like. And I'm starting to let go of my anger and I'm starting to focus on what I want instead of what I don't want. How many followers say I? And that shifted me just a bit. And now I'm eating, which shifted me a lot. And I got this giant plate stacked up. And I don't know what the amount was. It was like, whatever it was, $6.95, $7.95, right? So I'm gonna do this, I could probably do this 3 or 4 times, right? Somewhere in that range. As I'm finishing my meal, this little boy comes in, dressed in a little suit, and I honestly don't know how old he'd be, probably in the 3rd grade, so maybe 8 years old, 9 years old, something like that. And he was so adorable, and he opened the door for his mother, and his mother was an attractive lady, and he came over and he pulled out the seat for her, and she sat down, and she was a pretty lady, but as pretty as she was, I was totally obsessed by this boy. He had presence at 7 or 8 years old. And it moved me. I don't know why, it moved me. And I thought, this kid is like pure. I want him to always be this way. He's such a good kid, he's a giver. So I got up and I paid for the meal, and whatever it was, $6, $7. So now I've got whatever left, $17, $18, $19. And I walk up to this little boy, and I said, excuse me. And I said, I just want to acknowledge you for being such an extraordinary gentleman. I said, I saw the way you treated your lady, how you opened the door, how you pulled the chair out. I said, that's class. I said, my name's Tony, what's yours? I don't honestly remember his name, Charlie or something. And he looked up at me and I said, Charlie? I said, that's amazing, taking your date out for a lunch like this. He goes, well, actually, she's my mom. And I said, that's even more cool. And he said, oh, but I'm not taking her to lunch because I think he said he was 8. I said, oh, yes, you are. I had no plan for this. I just reached in my pocket. I took all the money I had left, $17, $18, $19, and I put it on the table. I said, you're taking her to lunch. He looked up at me and he goes, I can't take that. I said, sure you can. He said, why? Because I'm bigger than you are. And he smiled real big, and I didn't even look at his mom. I just turned and walked away. And I didn't walk out of that door. I flew home. I should have been freaking out. How the am I gonna eat? But I didn't. I flew because something inside of me had finally got past scarcity. Had finally realized there's something inside of us more than our limits, especially around this thing called money that I had let terrorize me. And I got home, and the mailman came that day, and I had no idea I was gonna have my next meal. And a letter comes, and it's from the guy I loaned the money to. Handwritten notes saying, I've been avoiding you, it's wrong, I'm so sorry, you were there when I needed you. Here's what I owe you plus a little bit more. And the $1,200 was there, plus another $100 for the time that I had to take care of it. And for me, $1,300, that was enough to run my show for a month or two. And I cried. And then I decided, what does this mean? And I thought, this means that whenever you give, it's always gonna come back, so you don't have to ever think about that again. Just give. And the rewards will be greater than you can ever imagine. I don't know if that's coincidence, but I decided to believe that day was a blessing when I became rich. And I can tell you honestly, I've had tough days in my life, economically, emotionally, like all of us. But I've never gone back to that scarcity, I never will. The secret to living is giving. Do it when you don't have it, and I promise you, scarcity will leave your life. Put your hands on your heart if you would.
Okay, my hands on my heart.
Feel your heart, close your eyes, and really breathe in your heart. And those at home could do the same, so they can test this out. And if those at home, think of something that's really bothered you. Ideally, it is 7 or above, and you really want to resolve it, and you haven't.
7 or above.
Could be a relationship situation, a business situation, kids, whatever. Breathe in your heart, and actually physically feel your heart. Feel it filling with blood and oxygen.
Feel the beauty of your heart.
Ugh.
Yes. Feel the
I love getting a heart exam because you get to hear that.
the strength of your heart.
Yeah.
Feel the beauty, the strength, and feel what you're grateful your heart has guided you to do in this life. So many beautiful things, especially you. And as you're breathing and feeling that, I want you to think of 3 things one at a time, just for a couple minutes. We'll do a short version here. I know you don't have a couple minutes, but things you're really grateful for. But something that could be little or big, but if you step into that moment, you can feel it right now like you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Breathe it, feel it, enjoy it, fill up with it, and then think of a second one that you could feel really grateful for and see it through your own eyes as if you were there. And really take it in.
Okay.
And then think of a third one. And find one really you could really enjoy. Feel like it was a blessing, such a beautiful blessing in your life. Sometimes coincidences are great because we know we didn't create them. We were guided, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So as you continue that with your eyes closed, breathing there, and ask yourself about that situation, but stay breathing your heart, stay in that same feeling. So you're in a beautiful state. And just ask yourself, in that situation, all I need to remember is, all I need to focus on is, all I need to do is what? In that situation that was bothering me, breathing in my heart, feeling the same beauty, all I need to remember is, all I need to focus on is, all I need to believe, all I need to do is what? And your heart knows the answer. Can you feel it? Do you know the answer?
Is appreciate that I'm even in this position to even have that as a dilemma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how does that feel now when you think about it 0 to 10?
It feels like done.
And if you want more fire and espresso videos, check out the one that we recently did. The link is right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
There's a portion of my income that no one's going to get.
Save 10% of everything that you make.
That means I've doubled my return relative to my risk, right? Ooh, that's good.